at 20,000 feet, clinging to the side of this mile-high wall of granite, and everything in front of me was just space.
Falling off a mountain goes against all my instincts as a climber, so this will be much harder for me. It's like throwing myself into the space between life and death.
3, 2, 1. One down, two down.
Well, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. That was myself and a colleague setting the world record for altitude base jumping when we jumped with a parachute off the Great Trango Tower, 5,950 metres, all the way back in 1991. Now, did that seem a little scary to anyone? All of you. Well, with no understanding of what's involved in making something like that happen, you can really only respond from fear, untempered by reason or logic or emotion or training. But you know, I'm fascinated by that fear. I mean, what is fear? Where is it in our brain? How does it affect our lives? And more importantly, how can we overcome it? Because we all experience fear. In fact, I believe fear is the main reason that people don't achieve their full potential in terms of health, happiness, and success. Every animal on the planet experiences fear, and humans are the only ones who can overcome it. And we've all done it. We've all faced some challenge that seemed impossible, but we found a way through. So today we're going to have a look at some more techniques that can help anybody move beyond their fear to discover what's possible. Now, by background, I'm a doctor of emergency medicine with a special interest in fear. And in the last 18 years or so, I've been on about 16 major international expeditions with very diverse goals, ranging from sailing a schooner all the way from Australia down to Antarctica to be part of the first team to climb the highest unclimbed mountain in North Victoria Land. I was also part of the Social Climbers expedition to have the highest black tie dinner party in the world. And I also joined the famous Hollywood filmmaker James Cameron to make a documentary about the most famous shipwreck in the world, the Titanic. And I was part of the team that flew the first hot air balloons over the summit of Mount Everest, over the top of the highest point on the planet. And I was again part of the team that climbed and then base jumped off what we thought was the highest cliff in the world. Now, to some people, the things that I do seem dangerous. But to me, danger is in the eye of the beholder. It's a perception, it's a paradigm, it's a pattern of thinking. And by changing the way that we think, we can change the paradigms that limit our world. So I don't see this stuff as dangerous. I do accept that it's got risk, and my job is to mitigate that risk. And to mitigate that risk, I've got to follow a process of personal transformation. And this is a process that we all know about, because whether you want to set a world record jumping off the highest cliff in the world, or you want to get absolute momentum in changing Jedi, you've got to follow essentially the same process. You've got to have a long-term plan. You've got to have a set of skills. You've got to have a clarity of purpose guided by a common set of principles. And I know that a real team following a process of transformation like this can literally achieve the impossible. And I firmly believe that just about everyone in this room could do that if you followed that process of transformation. But I can see a lot of you are thinking, yeah, right, Glenn, that's okay for you to say. You're from Australia. Well, now, and you're crazy, right? Australian crazy. Well, now I'd like to introduce you to someone who's definitely not crazy, someone who, like you, is a business professional, a woman, a mother of adult children. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my wife, Heather Swan.
Good morning, guys. So what do you think? Could anyone make that jump?
Yes!
No, you're all thinking like me, right? No way. And more importantly, why would you want to? That's what I was thinking when I first saw that footage back in 1995 at a corporate event just like this one. I was sitting in the audience like you guys and pondering the fact that I hadn't been able to go on the roller coaster recently. I was too scared. And looking at that and feeling physically ill and thinking, why would anyone want to do that? But as Glenn spoke to us that day, he had some really interesting points about fear, about how the brain works and about how it's segmented into different parts, and that those parts often conflict to prevent us doing things like going on the roller coaster. So at the end of his presentation that day, I thought, I want to learn more about this guy. So I queued up to speak to him, and when it got to be my turn, I shook his hand as firmly as I could and I said, that was the most incredible thing I have ever seen. Could I buy you a cup of coffee after this and learn a little bit more about how you do that? And he said yes to the cup of coffee.